Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead of them and their companies. I'm your host, Olivia Salmons, and in each episode we'll uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Phoebe Gavin, leadership coach, keynote speaker, and founder of Better with Phoebe. Phoebe works with leaders and organisations to help them build better, healthier workplace. Phoebe works with leaders and organisations to help them build healthier workplaces, develop stronger leadership skills, and create environments where teams can thrive. Through her coaching, workshops, and speaking engagements, she helps managers navigate the complex challenges of leadership, from improving communication and preventing burnout to build stronger team cultures. Phoebe, welcome to Founders Future. Thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm very much excited to dive in and learn a little bit more about your journey. So, Phoebe, with all of my guests, I do like to start at the beginning. So if you don't mind briefly taking me back to what it was you was doing before you started Better with Phoebe, and then from there, what was the motivation behind it?
Well, I've had quite a windy career, but I spent most of it in media and in journalism on the audience development and content marketing side. And I eventually got to a point at a director level where I looked at the career ladder above me and I just didn't find rungs that were particularly interesting. And I wanted to spend some time figuring out what was next for me. Something that had always been a huge theme in my career is helping people grow. And I had a very fateful conversation with a friend of mine who said, you should go into coaching, you should go into consulting, you should do this mentorship thing that you do all the time for free. You should just do that as your job. And it was a great light bulb moment. Those good friends are good for all sorts of things. And that is how I ended up starting my coaching and consulting practice.
Beautiful stuff. So kind of just, as you say, naturally happened to you was obviously helping your friends out, helping people out with free advice. And then from there, decided you could actually take something good and build a business from that, which is a pretty cool aspect. Did you always have a small, like, burning ambition to be an entrepreneur, or was that something that just naturally developed, obviously, as you went through your own journey?
It it was a little bit of both. My parents are both entrepreneurs, although I very much come from a working class background. My dad's a plumber, my mom is a house cleaner, but they do those jobs for
Yeah.
themselves. And so entrepreneurship was part of my history, but I didn't see it as a way to build wealth because
Yeah.
obviously I had entrepreneurial parents, but we came from a low income background. And so I hadn't connected those things until I got deeper into my corporate career and really put the obvious thing together that all of these businesses that I have worked for were started by a person. And it started to become more interesting to me. How could I take the entrepreneurial roots that
Yeah.
I come from, but turn them into something wealth building? And that's been a really exciting journey for me so far.
I love that. And I love to hear it. And as you say, like you can just apply your skills to anything and then from there make yourself an entrepreneur. And I feel like if you've had that upbringing, you're naturally more prone to jumping into that space because you've seen it for yourself. You know how you can make your own money. As you say, it's just maybe applying that to something that where you can take it a little bit further or make it your own, which is a really cool aspect when it does come to business. So, Phoebe, let's dive into Better with Phoebe a little bit more, just so the listeners can have some context moving forward. So at this point in, who would you say like is your ideal client? Like who do you very, very much love to work with the most? And then from there, how is it you help them? And how do you support them along their own journey?
Sure. So I have a B2B side and a B2C side. My
Awesome.
B2B side is my leadership coaching and my organizational consulting. And I work with companies that are looking to build workplaces that people actually want to stay in versus escape from. And I help them with organizational and culture problems. I everything from conflict management to just upskilling individual leaders because leadership as
Mm,
a skill set is not something that you automatically have just because you're very good at your function. And so companies that recognize that people leave bad managers more than they leave bad jobs often come to me to try to increase retention, both for their high potential leaders, because companies that invest in their people to have better retention, but also so that those team members that report up to that leader that they have a better experience at that company because if you have good leaders, those leaders are going to be able to retain those team members. On the B2C side, I help people find those sorts of companies so that they can transform their own careers and move forward from situations that may not be so great or situations where they're ready to transition from into that next stage of their career, whether that's a career pivot, whether that's continuing forward in the career trajectory that they're already on. And I love both sides of it because at the end of the day, it's helping someone grow. And that is definitely a core value for me.
I love that. And they both really feed in well together. As you say, naturally, people are very good at what they do, but they're not always, don't always come skilled with what it takes to be a leader. So naturally, that kind of works. And as you say, climate retention, staff retention isn't often most companies focus on because it's not a nuance that they think drives revenue sometimes. So it's so important to build that environment where people feel comfortable and they can flourish and grow. And as you say, just supporting that leader and you get a nice trickle down effect throughout the whole company. And then I can take it with that with the B2C side, you're actually helping implement leaders into organizations, which again has a great effect moving forward.
Yeah, and I specialize on the B2C side when I'm working with folks who are looking to move forward in their career. I specialize mostly with mid-career people. And so these are
Awesome.
folks who are looking to get into leadership or they are in their first leadership position or their second
Mm,
leadership position. Definitely get people on other sides of that, but the vast majority of my clientele is in that zone. And those are folks who are really looking to drive transformation in the companies that they are stepping into. They're very values oriented. They want to be the kind of leader that people love working for. And so
yeah.
there's a lot of really great synergy where once those folks get into their organizations, they can sing my praises to the folks who might want some organizational support.
Yeah.
And the folks who experience me in an organizational context may want to work with me in a personal context later. And so there's a really great virtuous cycle there.
Yeah, I love that. As you say, you have the double-edged sword on each side, which is a really cool aspect. And one thing I'm very obviously curious, well, I suppose, what would you say like is the first, I suppose, initial spark or challenge that people tend to reach out to you with?
On the B2C side, it is definitely some sort of career dissatisfaction or
Mm,
disillusionment where something about their current role or their current career isn't working anymore, but they're
yeah.
not quite sure how to figure out the answer to the problem. What is the thing that needs to happen next? And then some folks kind of know that answer, but they're struggling with their job search and need some tactical support there. On the B2B side, organizations that are looking to bring me in, sometimes they have a acute problem with a particular team where they want help from someone to step in and help us understand what is dysfunctional about this team so that we can support this team into success. And sometimes that's a staff issue, sometimes it's a leadership issue, sometimes it's both. And then another pain point that brings people in quite frequently is looking at their organization in a more big picture way and saying, as an organizational culture, we know we need to do this sort of transformation so that we're a really great place to work and people are doing their best work because that's how we get the best out of our people. It's not sort of
Yeah.
trying to squeeze as much blood from the stone as you can, but giving people lots of intrinsic motivation so that they naturally do their best. And they will bring me in to take a look at what's happening, do some listening, going on a bit of a listening tour, and giving them a report back of these are the areas that need to change. And then often they retain me to support that change as well.
Beautiful. So you're very much like intertwined with the company. So you're very much in the trenches and kind of getting going. And then on that B2B side, is it again, what is your style, your approach? Are you very much holding their hand until they get to that role or opportunity they're looking for?
On both sides, I really am working with people, and people are, work. We often think of professionalism as sort of having, leave your emotions at the door, but that's not realistic. The human experience is an emotional experience. Work is a human experience, and that means work is an emotional experience. And so, whether it's an individual who's looking to move forward in their career, or an individual who's looking to drive transformation in their organization or in their team, there are a lot of feelings in play. There's a lot of identity things in play, and as I look at the tactical and strategic things that need to change for that individual or for that team to reach their goals, I'm also looking at the emotional blockers and interpersonal blockers that could be interfering with achieving those outcomes.
Love
And
it.
we all can think of situations in our lives where we've known exactly what we needed to do, but we were just couldn't make ourselves do it because there was some sort of internal blocker there. And so it is really important in my practice to make sure that we're looking at both of those.
Yeah, I love that. And as you say, there's got to be a little bit of a mindset shift as well. So really making sure they're understanding, they're aligned with their mission. Even within the companies, I think that's a big step to take as well, making sure everyone is in alignment. And as you said, just building that nourishing environment where they can grow and thrive. and just take off from there. There's nothing more motivating within a business than actually caring about the people that you work for and the company that you work for. So just making that a great space for them will just really help everything, revenue, profits, everything will drive forward. One thing I'm very curious to find out is like naturally how you go about acquiring your customers. So in terms of like channels or methods, like what are you really finding most effective at the moment, Phoebe, and just finding those right people to work with?
I'm lucky in that since I come from a media background, I come from a journalism background, it is fairly easy for me to access media placements. And that has definitely been the strongest driver for my business. Being on podcasts, being in major media, whether I'm being cited or whether I'm writing a piece on a freelance basis or on a contributor basis, and also doing speakers is speaking, being on the conference circuit. Those are the areas that tend to drive the best business for me on both sides. It's an
Nice.
opportunity for the my target audience to spend a lot of time with me and to really get a sense of who I am as a coach, who I am as a consultant, to really get a
Yeah.
sense of my style and my approach, and to imagine what would it be like if I could be on the other side of a microphone with this person and talk to her about my concerns and my fears and my worries and the outcomes I'm looking for and the blockers I think I have. I think she would really be able to help me with that. And it's a lot easier for them to imagine that in long form content than with short form content.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And I think long form content is definitely having its time to shine again at the moment, which is really great to see. Naturally, people are very wary of trust at the moment. It's a big topic, is the trust recession everyone keeps talking about that we're in. So as you say, just being intentional, I feel like there's nothing more resonant than somebody listening to your voice. They get to feel your energy, they get to hear what you're like, and as you say, it's just a great way to enter your ecosystem and just make sure it's a good fit for them as well when they're taking those steps. Do you utilize social media anywhere as well, just to maybe increase your ecosystem and get even more knowledge out on that front?
It is not an area of focus for me, but it is one where I would like to put more focus. I do find, especially coming from that marketing background in media and journalism, is that I really understand how much of a black hole that can be. And
Yeah.
so, and because I'm a solopreneur, it's just me and my husband in this business. I have to be very, very thoughtful about how I spend my time. And I want to make sure that marketing materials that I create are as versatile as possible. They're as useful as possible to my audience. And social media, for all of its benefits, it is quite fleeting, and the usefulness can be on the lower side because it is so short. And
Yeah.
so I tend not to be super active on social media, but if, I hired in the future, that would be the place where I would.
Yeah, that's as you said, what's it, the Achilles heel that we can improve on moving forward. But as you say, that can come in time when you get to that place. And naturally, there you mentioned obviously you're pretty much juggling all the hats yourself, maybe with a little bit of support from your husband. So would that be a goal for you as well to maybe increase the team a little bit as you scale the business?
Well, I would correct you that it's quite a lot of support from my husband. We're both
Good.
working full
Okay,
time
cool.
in the business. And so
Love
we
that.
split the responsibility for making sure that things are moving forward. And on his side, operations, finance, IT,
Love it.
lots of very legal, lots of very important stuff. And I focus on coaching, consulting, marketing. And it's a really nice balance between the two of
Yeah.
us. And I would say, though, that the thing of those three, coaching, consulting, and marketing, the marketing is the thing that takes up the least time, but also has the most potential. Obviously, with my background, I know how to make the most out of the marketing time that I
Yeah.
can invest. But that is the place where I would hire, is to bring on a marketing manager to take on some of those other opportunities that I'm either not as inclined because of my preferences or don't have the time to pursue.
Yeah, and then thank you for correcting me. So it's nice that you and your husband really have a nice balance within the business. As you say, he's taking more of like the brawns, and then you get to be that brain behind it and moving forward, and very much the front of the brand as well, which is a really awesome aspect. And like we are at the start of 2026. So what are your visions or I suppose, all your goals for the company moving forward? Like, what targets or milestones are you looking forward to achieving over the next 6 to 12 months?
Well, this year is definitely going to be a transformation year for the company. Like every company, we are subject to the whims of the economy, but in particular, I am very subject to the whims of the labor market. And the labor market in the United States, which is my major market, is quite challenged. And so the the services that I bring to the market on the B2C side, we're doing a lot of transformation on that side to make those services more accessible. People want the highest touch thing that they can afford, but affordability has gone down in the United States because of the labor market challenges that we're experiencing. And so the milestones that I'm looking for are not so much growth oriented in terms of revenue. They
Yeah.
are transformation oriented to make sure that we're meeting the market in a way that meets the market's needs and
Yeah.
also is sustainable for the business. And so on that side, we're looking to sort of keep things the same, but transform the way that we accomplish things. On the B2B side, I definitely am looking to do way more serialized events. I am very good at bringing in those bigger consulting contracts that take up a
Oh,
lot of time. But
yeah.
the place where I have the most excitement in my business is when I'm helping individuals. And when I am able to do smaller scale events, but in a serialized way where we can learn something, apply it, and then iterate on it, that does a really good balance of being budget accessible to more organizations while also being very focused on individuals and people and helping them grow.
Yeah. As you say, getting down to what you love most, which is that connection, as you said at the start, just making sure you are fulfilling that and helping people along the way.
And
Where are you probably,
ultimately, those services are meeting the market where it is right now because
yeah.
those services are more affordable than those very, very, very high touch services, which I'm happy to provide, but not everyone can afford right now.
Yeah, and that's a tough balance because naturally, obviously, you have to think of yourself and your value within that. But again, filling that and making sure you are helping as many people as possible. It's that kind of fine tightrope of how do we structure that moving forward. But as you say, just kind of figuring it out and considering everybody else along the way is a really beautiful thing. And where are you probably finding the biggest challenge for yourself at the moment, either in taking those next steps or within the current business?
I would say the biggest challenge is going to be around time. Obviously, it's me and my husband, and we
Yeah.
are, putting all of our time into this, and we love it. And it still gives us a really wonderful lifestyle, flexibility in our lifestyle. But if we are going to invest in some of the ways that we need to invest, we might need to pull back on a little bit of the flexibility, which is a little hard
Yeah.
to do. And so the hiring is probably the frontier that's going to allow us to solve that problem. And that's definitely something that we're looking into for this year.
Beautiful stuff. So yeah, taking that in consideration. And I feel like a lot of founders they do hit their ceiling, so it's nice to bring that support in, as you said, in those areas you need it, and then you can very much focus on what you need to do and move on from there. And Phoebe, as one final question to you before we log out for the day. So if you could go back in time to a younger self and you could only leave yourself with one piece of advice moving forward, something you know now, but that you didn't know back then, what would you say to yourself?
I would say failure is your friend.
Love that.
Failure is your friend. I've been weightlifting for a very long time, and failure is something that we think of as a good thing. Reaching
Yep.
failure is something that we're looking to do because when you get to the edge of what your body is capable of, that is when your body forces itself to grow and get stronger. And coming from my background as a woman, as a Black woman, as a low income person, failure was something that was very, very scary for the first half of my professional life. And I was much more conservative in a lot of my choices because I was afraid of those risks. I was afraid of failing. And I think that I would be farther along, or maybe just in a completely different place if I was willing to take more of those risks. And I'm now at a place where I see failure as something to spend some time with and to explore and to get excited about because those are the places where I can learn.
Yeah.
And I am not as worried about getting embarrassed if something goes wrong. Failure is a friend.
I love that. And I love the fact that you implemented a sporting analogy to business. I feel like the two come hand in hand, especially with that mindset. So push to failure and keep learning from there. What a beautiful way to end the podcast. Phoebe, thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing your incredible journey and insight with us. Where can our listeners reach out best to work with you or connect with you if they would like to do
You
so?
can see me at betterwithphoebe.com or Better with Phoebe on your favorite social media platform.
Amazing, nice and easy. And Phoebe, thank you again. I really appreciate your time today. And to our listeners, if you enjoyed today's conversation, please go and check out Phoebe Gavin. As she just said, better with Phoebe. Drop her a message. I'm sure she would love to hear from everybody. And do not forget to subscribe to Founders Future via wherever you listen to your favourite podcasts. And if you are a business owner, specifically a coach, consultant, or agency owner, and you're really looking to scale your business and you want to enhance your sales and marketing efforts, Visit closers.io to hop on a call with one of our team and discover how we went from $0 to $30 million per year in less than 3 years. But until then, keep on climbing and we'll see you on the next one.